Welcome back to the live stream. In this episode, Democrats get obliterated as more Epstein revelations are revealed. Hakeem Jeffries gets grilled yet again by the press about Stacey Plaskett's Epstein connections. And Jim Jordan nukes House Democrats from orbit, exposing their latest Epstein hoax for what it is. Then Democrats do the unthinkable, urging the military to disobey Trump's orders. Now, don't forget to send your reactions in the chat as we break down these stories. And don't forget to smash the like button. Let's jump into the first story.
We've always said from the very beginning that we want to follow the facts, apply the law, we'll be guided by the Constitution on any issue. That includes as it relates to the release of these documents.
And then do you condemn Stacey Plaskett just talking to a sex trafficker during a hearing?
I haven't had a conversation with Stacey Plaskett.
But is that troubling you?
I have not had a conversation with Stacey Plaskett. In fact, I think Stacey Plaskett has issued a statement as it relates to this, and her statement speaks for itself.
Governor Abbott scheduled the Texas 18 special election for the day after the CR is supposed to expire. Are you concerned that Speaker Johnson's going to do what he did with Adelita Grijalva and try to use the swearing in of whichever Democrat wins that election as a bargaining chip to end the shutdown?
Well, I don't expect that we're going to be in a shutdown at that particular point in time as long as the Republicans don't adopt the my way or the highway approach. And what we need Republicans to do is actually try to solve problems for the American people.
Oh, yeah. Hakeem Jeffries has all the answers when the questions are about what the Republicans may or may not do. But when it comes to Stacey Plaskett colluding or getting coached, okay, let me use the right words, getting coached by a convicted abuser, I'm trying to be YouTube friendly. He has nothing to say. He hasn't spoken to her. All right. Has he spoken to the Republicans before reaching his own conclusion? Well, no one cares. But when it comes to Stacey Plaskett, he keeps walking. When it comes to the Republican, he has a lot to say. Now, Stacey Plaskett essentially is in more hot water because Kat Kamak has called her out for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. And the Democrats have a lot to say about Trump showing up in photos with Epstein or having some footage of him standing with Epstein, but nothing to say about House Democrats receiving money from Jeffrey Epstein, and little to nothing to say about a House Democrat getting coached by Epstein during an impeachment hearing. Let's have a listen to what Kat Kamak has to say.
I believe the ranking member said she was deeply concerned about the affiliation, and we seem to have a guilty by association theme going on here. And so I just have to state for the record that I myself am deeply concerned about the affiliation of the convicted sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein, of which the ranking member took campaign donation money from. So I think that's the beauty of the First Amendment, is that we have a right to say what we want to say, but we also have the right to be offended. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, so not much can be said about the fact that President Trump took photos, had videos of him standing with Epstein. Not much can be said about that. But somehow the Democrats have a lot to say about that issue. All right, now, in trying to defend herself, Stacey Plaskett has this to say, because she was up for being censored on the House floor yesterday. And she stood up to make a defense, for everything that has been going on. And honestly, she didn't do a good job at defending herself. Here's what she had to say.
And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation.
That's not true. Essentially, that's not true. This was 11 years after he had already been convicted the first time. Okay, he was first arrested the first time 11 years before. Everyone on Capitol Hill knew what Epstein was up to. So how come she suddenly, has this sudden onset of amnesia about Epstein's arrest record? This is, of course, the Democrats' playbook. As usual, they deflect, deny, deflect, deny. And then when that doesn't work, they play victim.
And who is sharing information with me. Now,
Really? Well, we did see the text messages while we watched the footage that, when we reviewed the videos the last time. And that didn't look like sharing information. That looked like someone being coached. Who was chewing. Jeffrey Epstein kind of said, "Are you chewing?" Almost like a reprimand. Anyway, you all saw the videos. Now, let me know your thoughts in the chat. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the chat about these stories. At least, what do you think about her excuse for being essentially Epstein's mouthpiece during a House impeachment hearing? All right. Now, while we're looking at these responses, and of course they all fall flat. Hakeem Jeffries' his reaction and his response to these issues are just, they don't pass the smell test. Okay, you see how he came to life when it came to attacking the Republicans, but nothing to say when an obvious problem with how his colleague on the Democrat side colluding with a known criminal was being questioned, and he just suddenly had nothing to say. Okay, very obvious. Now, Jim Jordan did his part to call out what everyone has been asking, everyone has been thinking it, and he gives voice to the things that everyone is thinking.
I give myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
We all support holding bad guys accountable, and we're all going to vote for this resolution. But I think a little perspective is important. Democrats have spent 6 months talking about Epstein, even though they had 4 years to do something about it. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Maybe it's to go after President Trump. Never forget, they shut down the government for 43 days. They said, don't worry about our military, don't worry about air traffic controllers, don't worry about our economy, don't worry about American families. No, no, no. Close the government for a month and a half because it might hurt the president. For the past decade, there's been one constant for Democrats. One constant. Go after Trump. They spied on his campaign. Then it was Mueller. Then it was impeachment 1. Then it was impeachment 2. Then it was all the lawfare. Alvin Bragg, Fonnie Willis, Letitia James. Then it was Arctic Frost investigation at the Justice Department, surveilling United States senators and congressmen.
Now, where we haven't talked about that situation yet. Now, imagine running surveillance, illegal wiretaps on sitting congressmen. We haven't gotten to that yet. This is all done under Biden's Democrat administration. If this was Republicans who did this, we would never hear the last of it. Mainstream media would talk about it till the cows came home. But since it's the Democrats, well, they get a pass, okay, doing things that they shouldn't be doing. We're going to sit and wait to see what the Republicans do about this, because essentially the Republicans haven't been impressive at all. We've been watching the way they've mealy-mouthed around the voting. For example, the censorship against Stacey Plaskett went nowhere. We're going to figure out a way to talk about it and get more information about how on earth they could not push through a vote that was a no-brainer.
And a whole host of other Americans. Then it was Jack Smith and his gag orders and his raiding President Trump's home. Then it was a 43-day shutdown, and now it's Epstein. And by the way, the same party that did all that They were also the ones who were texting with Mr. Epstein during a hearing where Michael Cohen was their witness in another effort to go after the president. Americans see through it all, and frankly, it's actually kind of sad. This obsession, this syndrome, this mindset that says we got to go after President Trump no matter what that they have.
And the problem, and I keep saying it, the problem is they've forgotten about their constituents. And I think they believe that their constituents really want them to go after President Trump instead of doing what they should be doing for their constituents, ensuring that the basics that every American citizen should have are afforded them. Attacking a sitting president is not something that seems to fit the bill for what the representatives should be doing for their constituents. All right. Now, if you don't agree with me, let me know in the chat. I want to know what you think about this situation where, again and again, it just seems like the only thing that Democrats appear to think that their job is to go after President Trump. Even during the Biden administration, they continued to bring up Trump's name, even when he wasn't in office. So I think it is a problem.
Actually, when I think about it, I think it's because President Trump and Republicans have accomplished so much that they told the voters they were going to accomplish in the 2024 election. We're actually doing what we said we were going to do. President Trump said he was going to cut taxes, and he did. President Trump said he would secure the border, and he did. President Trump said he'd get men out of women's sports, and he did. President Trump said he would make sure Iran doesn't have nuclear capability, and he did. And he said he would get the hostages out of Gaza back into Israel, and he did. All in 9 months. So I don't know what causes this mindset, this syndrome that the left has, but I know one thing. It is real. Which brings me to last week. Think about what the Democrats did last week. The Democrats released an email that the Oversight Committee had obtained from the estate. An email from Mr. Epstein to Ms. Maxwell. When the Democrats released it, they redacted the victim's name. Something we all support. Something everyone supports. Except in this case, no court had ordered that name redacted, no agency had redacted it, and the estate didn't redact it. And the victim had already went public. So why black out her name? Why black out her name?
It's a good question.
Because she had said in her book and had testified under oath that she never saw any wrongdoing by President Trump.
Greetings.
So think about what they did. In an email between two criminals, Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, in an email between two criminals, they hide the name of an individual who had went public and exonerated the president, and we know why.
So let me know in the chat. We've had very spirited conversations around this topic. And one of the things that baffles me is the cognitive dissonance that a lot of people seem to have when it comes to very basic common sense conversations. President Trump is being attacked from every angle. And now there's some infighting in the Republican Party, with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We talked about it yesterday. And with all of that happening, the Democrats can't seem to get their act together. If you're going to lay an attack on President Trump, then do it properly. Don't attack him in very weak and easy to spot ways. The estate did not redact the names. Okay. The so-called victim, the victim had already come out to say President Trump did nothing wrong. He was a perfect gentleman. Why the rabid attacks on President Trump using tools or weapons or documents that prove nothing? They redacted it to frame it in a way that would make him look bad. And you know what? They all ran with it. They ran with it, trying to make it seem like they got President Trump. And when they were revealed to have framed the conversation in a way that just didn't make any sense, B, redacted it to make it seem like President Trump had been caught in wrongdoing, and then C, they begin to get their own dirt brought out to the public. That is a huge come to Jesus moment for anyone with two eyes and a brain.
To distort and twist the message because they thought it might harm the president. Their position, cover up the names of people who are already public, but don't worry about other innocent people who the court said should remain private. Again, I think the American people see through it. They see through what the Democrats are doing. The American people know what this is. They know Democrats have nothing else to run on because of the success of this administration. So I say let's vote yes on this resolution, and then let's get focused on making sure we're doing what the American families elected us.
All right, so let me know what you think of this entire situation. It's not going away anytime soon. The conversation is going to stay in the media until a bigger hoax is manufactured or President Trump does something to piss everyone off, which he does at least once a month. He figures out a way to piss everyone off, and then the news cycle changes. And then the Democrats keep falling for his outrage bait because I believe he does it intentionally. Okay, so in the chat, Canary King says Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bit overconfident. I think so. I think now what I heard coming from Scott Jennings, whom we're going to be hearing from in a bit. He said that basically President Trump had sent in a poll to Marjorie Taylor Greene during the summer to let her know that her numbers were way down and that it didn't seem like she was going to survive the midterms. So basically, he was asking her to consider stepping down for someone with fresh legs to take her spot. She got offended and began to do an offense tour, essentially, attacking President Trump. Now she's gone, in my opinion, it seems like she's gone over to the dark side. Okay, just basically going on The View and hobnobbing with them and so on. So I think she thinks she has a shot without President Trump's endorsement. And I don't think she does. She might be pandering to the female voters, okay, but is that enough to get her reelected? Okay, let me know what you think in the chat. Is that enough to get her reelected? Personally, I don't think so. All right, so that was Jim Jordan dealing the Democrat Party. It's almost like kicking them when they're down feels unfair, but it's really a play to see if they will wake up and simply just do their jobs and engage in proper conversations. If you don't like President Trump, that's fine. Okay, if you don't like him, that's fine. But don't go out there creating lies and trying to make it seem like President Trump is Hitler. All right. Now, Democrats have they created this promotion and they're openly calling for the armed forces to refuse to follow orders. Okay. All right. Now, seeing is believing. All right. I'm going to play the promotion that they did, and then you let me know what you think. Okay.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Yeah, coming from Democrats who really don't care about the armed forces. They say a lot about caring about the armed forces, but they really don't. Telling them to disobey commands from their commanding officer, from their commander-in-chief, all right, is just crazy. It's crazy. Now, Scott Jennings essentially breaks down his thoughts on this. Let me know in the chat if you think this is a good idea. All right. I would always ask the question, if the roles were reversed, if this was Republicans telling the armed forces not to obey Barack Obama, for example, what would be the reaction of Democrats in the United States, apart from the usual cry of it's racist to do so? Let me know in the chat. Now, here's Scott Jennings responding to this advert.
How is the president pitting the military against American citizens? I don't know what they mean by that. A. B. What are the illegal orders? What are they talking about? It's like they live in an alternate reality. They live in a movie. They live in a TV show where something that's they claim is happening is not actually happening in reality. I don't know what illegal activity they're talking about, but I do know what illegal activity they're recommending. And they're trying to get people in the chain of command to disobey the commander-in-chief, which would be a terrible idea.
But they're saying don't obey legal orders, which is not
what orders.
I don't know, but I didn't hear them advocate breaking the law.
Well, I mean, I think they're trying to influence members of the military to, start to determine all orders are illegal orders just because they don't like Donald Trump. That's the way I took it. I mean, what are they trying to do? Foment insurrection in the ranks of the military? I mean, what are they doing?
They're saying if you're being asked to do something illegal, you can come forward.
What is it?
I don't know,
but an example.
I'd like to hear an example, but I don't understand why people are so upset by this.
Look,
they're not advocating. They're not advocating anything illegal. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm just truly mystified because I've heard from like 20 people about this.
This goes to the core argument that Democrats have made for 10 years about Donald Trump. They've never gotten over it. He is the legitimately elected president of the United States. He was in 2016. He was in 2024. He is presently the legitimate commander-in-chief. But you have this group of Democrats who have tried to treat him like an illegitimate president every step of the way for the last decade. This is the latest installment in this fantasy that Donald Trump isn't actually supposed to be able to act as the president or the commander-in-chief or whatever. And so, I mean, to me, I think this is going to backfire on them. I think this is fan service for the fever swamps of the left, but to the average American, it's going to sound crazy.
Yeah, well, it sounds crazy to me. All right. In the chat, okay. All right. I'm going to catch up with what's going on in the chat. All right. Please remember you can send your reactions and your thoughts in the chat, and I'll be responding to everything you put out there. Now, Canary King says that makes sense. Speaking about the earlier comment about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that makes sense. She feels cornered and is trying to protect her perceived power base. Trying to self-correct by attacking the head of the Republican Party, the head of the MAGA movement, and then turning around and beginning to cozy up to news outlets that have traditionally been anti-President Trump is not a good look, especially for most people who are like normies of the base. All right. normies essentially don't care about the little tiff or quarrels you guys have, in private. Normies want to see a unified front. And anyone who kind of pulls back and begins to fight against President Trump instantly gets categorized as an enemy of the movement. It was a bad move. She miscalculated, in my opinion. I don't think she should have done that. I think she should have figured out how to re-strategize. Okay. But I also think that the way she went about trying to call for the release of the Epstein files created that bad polling for her during the summer. These are my thoughts. Okay, these are my thoughts, because I have enjoyed her showing in Congress during the Biden years. She kept Jasmine Crockett on her toes, and she kind of presented that brawler, street fighter aura in Congress, okay, alongside Matt Gaetz. However, since Trump took office, it was almost like she was lost at sea. She was no longer the opposition, and she needed something to oppose. And in order to have that mileage, she picked on something that created that result for her during the summer. These are my thoughts, though. Let me know what you think of my breakdown in the comment section. I'm just kind of trying to figure out how she got where she is today. Okay. Canary King says, here's the thing. Where were these goody two-shoes when George W. Bush was invading Iraq on BS WMD claims? Now, all of us were hoodwinked. All of us were hoodwinked. We were all told that there were WMDs. The world was still reeling from the 9/11 attacks. And based on that atrocity, there was a lot of license given to the United States to kind of avenge its citizens. We were all hoodwinked. The UK, the United States, the allied countries, NATO, everyone was hoodwinked. And now we're finding out, and guys, it was after the fact, after the bombs had fallen on Iraq, after boots were on the ground, people realized there are no WMDs. All right. And that was, till today, is a black mark on the Republican Party. That is why people voted for President Trump, because during the Republican debates, he called out Jeb Bush. He said, your family took us to a war, started a war we didn't have to start. He called them out. People were shocked that Trump could do that, because the Bush family are a powerful dynasty. They are, and they are also a dangerous dynasty. People talk about Hillary Clinton and saying how dangerous she is, that you don't cross her. The Bushes too are possibly as dangerous, and Trump was crossing them right there. And they were so powerful that they created an opposition inside of the Republican Party. So I do agree that that some of these voices should have spoken up, but essentially everyone was working on the information they did have, and I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But if they did know and they didn't call it out, then they are wrong to have participated in the attack on Iraq. All right, now I'm going to he was right about Bush. Yes, he was right about Bush. He was. The Bush family essentially made President Trump their enemy after that confrontation. Bush Sr.'s wife essentially rallied the Republicans to start a shadow opposition within the party against President Trump. I mean, he paid for it all through his first term. And I think this time around, he learned his lesson and he's surrounding himself with people who are fiercely loyal. And I think that is why what Marjorie Taylor Greene has done so far is difficult for him to swallow, because he can't have anyone within his administration. Of course, she's not in his cabinet or on his cabinet, but he's always been very particular about loyalty. But he's right now with the presidency and everything, he's hyper insistent on loyalty. Kennedy King says, I remember he said, the last thing America needs is another Bush. And everyone frowns at any foreign adventure that Trump makes, because he stood against the Bush doctrine of foreign wars and interventions and so on. And anyone can understand that if he does it, if he attempts to engage in a foreign war or a foreign engagement, okay, it is almost like him being a hypocrite. Not almost, he is being a hypocrite if he does that. All right. All right. Please keep your comments coming. All right. If you're watching, don't be a spectator. If you have thoughts on the conversation that we're currently having about this, okay, please chime in. Where were these holier than thou people then? Now they're too good for Trump. These people are shameless. Well, okay, I'm not too sure like who you're referring to. I'm not too sure who you're referring to. Okay, you're referring to the Democrats who are asking the armed forces to disobey their commander-in-chief. Well, look, yes, they are shameless. I've come to the conclusion that these politicians have no shame. Like we saw the video with Hakeem Jeffries, all right, had nothing to say about something as egregious as one of his colleagues taking orders or instructions from a convicted offender, but has everything to say about something that the Republicans may or may not do. All right, it's frustrating to watch. Oh yeah, you're referring to the people who holding their noses up at Trump. Yeah, and I totally agree. It's hypocrisy on its face, and that's why we keep saying that this entire thing is a charade. This whole Democrat and Republican thing is a charade. President Trump's winning the election in 2016 exposed all of it, because the Democrats were on board. Like, it was as if there was this arrangement. You guys rule for 4 years, you guys rule for 8 years, then after 8 years, it's our turn. Okay, you guys will drop the ball so massively that Americans will want to vote for us. Okay, remember I mentioned that Barack Obama is a distant cousin to George W. Bush. Okay, his mom is George W. Bush's cousin. You watch these relationships and you begin to realize that we're just being played. It's almost like a family has members in both political party, and either way, the family wins. It's like Vegas. The house always wins. There's no winner, loser, Democrats, Republicans. They're all people have said it. They said it for a long time, the uni party. I didn't understand it until finally I ran into this information about how Obama and the Bushes were all related. I was like, okay, that's it. There is no two-party system. It's just one party. And President Trump essentially split that with MAGA. And that's why they hate him so much. That's why they want to discredit him and make sure that he has nothing to run on, or his credibility is so short that anyone he endorses isn't taken seriously. And I think that's at the heart of the attacks that we're seeing. It's really all about shutting down the Trump or the MAGA momentum. So anyone that rides anyone who could potentially ride the wave of the MAGA momentum is crippled if that movement is made, invalid. I'm struggling to find words. All right, so let's cover our final story. The final story is Tim Burchett. All right, now the House Democrats made a big show of how they were big on releasing the Epstein files. Tim Burchett makes a move. He makes a move to pass a motion earlier this week to release the files, and guess who shot that motion down? House Democrats. So were they shutting it down to make it their thing whenever someone from their side made the motion? Let's have a listen to this, and you let me know what you think in the chat.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, Late Vote Series to censor Delegate Stacey Plaskett. She's
all right, I'm sorry. This is the wrong video. This video is talking about the motion to censor Stacey Plaskett and how certain Republicans within the team voted against it. All right, so yes, this is the video that talks about it. I mentioned it earlier. This is the video that talks about that. Just forgive me. I mixed it up with the earlier one he released earlier this week, talking about how the Democrats shut down his motion to release the files. So there are Republicans who had been trying to release the files, but with all of the politicking and posturing that takes place in Congress, it wasn't surprising that a Republican making this motion got shut down earlier this week. But now it's been passed, okay? It's been passed. We're way past that. Now he's talking about the fact that Stacey Plaskett's motion to censure her, I don't know how it's pronounced. Is it censor or censure? Didn't pass because certain Republicans cut deals with Democrats. Democrats don't cut deals when they go after a Republican. All right, so let's listen to him, and then we'll talk about it as we wrap up the live stream.
the one that was received a sizable contribution from Epstein, which apparently is legal. I'm not sure, but she also is the one who was texting with him during a committee hearing, getting instructions on how to better attack Trump from Epstein, sending her the text. And so she's on some pretty powerful committees, and that just tells you how corrupt this place is. But the disgusting thing about it was 4 Republicans chose not to vote. 3 Republicans voted present, and 3 Republicans voted no. So it failed. And what they did was they cut a deal. They cut a deal on an ethics vote on a Republican. And that's just wrong. If everybody ought to just stand on their own. If it were truly, we don't care whose party these sex offenders and all this other stuff are in, when we're going after them, then we start cutting deals. To me, it's really disgusting. I get disgusted about some things, but this is one that's really, really bad. You've got some people on there who are chairmen of committees and things like that. And that's the kind of people we put in leadership. It's bogus and it stinks. And the first opportunity I get to speak to our leadership, I will give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah, so this is what Republicans do. And I think these are the Republicans in name only. Most of these guys are Trojan horses. They're really Democrats, because whenever it comes to censoring someone on the other side, they cave or they cut deals, or let's say they pretend to cut deals. I don't recall Democrats cutting these kinds of deals when it's someone on our side that is being attacked. Let me know in the chat if I've got that wrong. If you have a case where the Democrats were willing to cut a deal, then please let me know in the chat. So a recap on the stories that we've covered today. We've gone through the Jeffries reaction to the press asking him and pressuring him about Stacey Plaskett's involvement with Epstein. He pretends he knew nothing, knows nothing, but very willing to throw accusations and have lots to say about the Republicans when they were mentioned. And then we saw the accusations. Of course, she took money from Epstein and then took instructions from Epstein. It's on record. Why hasn't she been censored? Tim Burchett has mentioned that there are Republicans in there that helped keep her from being censored, and there has to be an investigation to figure out what on earth is going on there. If the Trump administration is going to fail at this second term, it's going to come from one of two angles. It will not come from the Democrats. The Democrats don't know what they're doing. All right. It's going to come from within the Republican Party, or it's just going to be a massive fumble from within the Trump administration. That's basically how that's going to turn out. All right. So let me know your thoughts in the chat. We are talking about a conversation that isn't going to go away soon. Maybe it's going to cool off, and then by January, now you see conversations around the Epstein files has cooled off. Why is that? President Trump has agreed to support the release of the files. He called for the release. The vote went through, and it has been voted to release. The bill has been sent to President Trump to sign, and he will sign it. So now the press has nothing to say. I'm sure they're scrambling to find something to accuse President Trump of. Excuse me. I'm sure there's something that they'll figure out, and then they'll pull a rabbit out of a hat and claim that it is something massive that every American should hear about. And by the time we examine it, I believe it will be yet another hoax. Okay, so currently there are whispers about Hillary Clinton being charged with criminal charges related to the situation with the Russia hoax and so on. We're going to be following that and seeing how far that goes. All right, so let's look at the polls. Okay, so we had a poll earlier, and it is split. We have 50% claim that Democrats okay, so the poll says this: should Democrats be condemned for calling for military disobedience? And 50% on the main channel said yes, it's extremely dangerous. 50% said they're not sure. They're not sure. All right. Now, on the backup channel, we had 100% saying no, they should not be condemned. So clearly, that is someone who supports the Democrats doing things that they would not support if Republicans did. So I call hypocrisy, as per usual. So I'm ending the poll. And if we have nothing more to react to in the chat, we will be wrapping up the live stream. All right. These live streams are driven by your conversation. Sometimes the conversations run long, sometimes they run short. We don't want to push it, in order to just have a 1 hour live stream. So thanks for the engagement. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the comments in the comment section. Maybe during the next live stream, we might consider looking at some of the comments that have followed past live streams, because we constantly call for comments to be sent to be posted while the videos are being played. And sometimes the comments come after the live stream is over. So we use those to kind of respond. We respond to those comments because I do want to honor the efforts that you make to post your thoughts and let us know how you feel about the stories or what you think about the stories. All right. So I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight, this lovely Wednesday evening. And let me know what you want me to consider talking about next time. So if you want to send us topic ideas or topics that you would like us to consider, please send it to the email address that is on the screen. All right. So thank you for being a part of today's live stream. All right. I'm still looking at the chat, just making sure I'm not missing out on anything. Wouldn't want to miss your conversations. All right. So thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. We go live every day at noon Eastern and at 9 p.m. Eastern every day of the week, Mondays to Fridays. So please consider joining us for the next live stream tomorrow at noon Eastern. We'll see you then. And until then, God bless you, and I'll see you then.
Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon.